thinking about all the turns we have to make. Right turn, left turn. How much easier it'd be if we...
I'm excited, although I hear he can be pretty tough.
I don't know. I mean, he might seem a little stiff and straight-laced.
Frasier didn't just spin off from Cheers. It reinvented what sitcoms could be, turning psychiatry into comedy gold and proving intelligent humor could dominate primetime. But behind the sophisticated wit and tossed salads, chaos ruled production. The creators nearly cast someone else as Frasier's brother. The dog stole scenes and caused havoc. And one actor, he almost quit after the first season. These are 20 secrets about Frasier hidden for decades, and buried in the Seattle skyline, a theme song that almost had completely different lyrics. Tossed salad and scrambled eggs. This gets messier than you think. Number 20. The show was almost called something completely different.
Oh, dear God, it's finally happened. This is the thanks I get for introducing in my personal shopper.
Well, I thank you all very much for your concern, but you know what? If I was repressing anything, I would certainly...
When Cheers ended in 1993, NBC desperately wanted to keep Kelsey Grammer on the network. His character, Frasier Crane, had become a fan favorite, and executives believed he could carry his own series. But the show wasn't originally going to be called Frasier. The creators, David Angel, Peter Casey, and David Lee, developed several alternative titles that tested terribly. The Doctor Is In was considered too generic. Radio Shrink sounded cheap and exploitative. Dr. Crane was deemed too formal and medical. Focus groups hated every option except the simplest one, just calling it Frasier. The network was initially reluctant, believing one-name titles didn't work for sitcoms. They pointed to failed shows with single-word titles as evidence. But the creators argued that Frasier was already a known character, with built-in audience recognition from Cheers. Using his name was marketing genius, not risk. NBC finally agreed, and the simple title became one of television's most recognizable. What's fascinating is that the name Frasier itself was unusual, sophisticated, and memorable. It didn't sound like a typical sitcom protagonist. That slight pretentiousness actually fit the character perfectly, signaling immediately that this wouldn't be a typical family comedy. The title debates consume months of development, proving that even the smallest creative decisions can become major obstacles when network money and careers are at stake. Number 19. Kelsey Grammer almost turned down the role.
Time that you'll be running along too,
Yes, I must be on my way. And Frasier, I must apologize. I was wrong about Tom. If I had to choose a man for Daphne, he's the one I'd pick.
After 11 seasons playing Frasier Crane on Cheers, Kelsey Grammer was exhausted. He'd spent over a decade as a supporting character and wanted to try different roles, explore dramatic acting, maybe even return to theater. When NBC approached him about a Frasier spin-off, his initial response was an absolute no. He felt he'd said everything there was to say about the character and didn't want to be typecast forever. The network offered more money. Grammer still refused. They offered creative control and executive producer credit. He hesitated but remained unconvinced. What finally changed his mind was the pitch itself. The creators promised they weren't just transplanting Frasier from Boston to Seattle. They were completely reinventing him, giving him a new family, new conflicts, new dimensions. They pitched the brother relationship with Niles, the father-son dynamic with Martin, the class tensions and intellectual pretensions. Grammer read the pilot script and recognized it was genuinely different from Cheers, more sophisticated, more character-driven. He saw potential for growth and challenge, but he still nearly walked away during contract negotiations. His personal life was turbulent, he was struggling with addiction, and this pressure of carrying a series seemed overwhelming. Friends and his agent convinced him that steady work would actually be beneficial, providing structure and purpose. Grammer signed the contract reluctantly, expecting the show to fail. Instead, it became the most critically acclaimed sitcom of the 90s and revitalized his career beyond anything he'd imagined. Number 18. The role of Niles was written specifically for David Hyde Pierce.
Just had the most wonderful day at the marina.
Oh, you got a boat?
Actually, no. I have an inner ear curvature that makes me prone to motion sickness. What?
Not only did Murchie rave on and on about the bottle of Umbrian wine I sent, but he intimated that I was opera bored.
When casting began for Frasier's brother Niles, the creators already had someone in mind: David Hyde Pierce. They'd seen him in small television roles and were struck by his uncanny physical resemblance to Kelsey Grammer. More importantly, they recognized a similar energy and comedic timing. Pierce was a relatively unknown stage actor, doing occasional television work to pay bills. He hadn't even heard of the Frasier project when his agent called about an audition. The audition was unusual. The creators didn't ask Pierce to read for Niles. They just talked to him, getting to know his personality, his background, his theatrical training. They'd already decided he was Niles based purely on seeing his headshot and previous work. The conversation was essentially a formality to confirm their instincts. Pierce left confused about whether he'd actually auditioned or just had a pleasant chat. Days later, he got the call offering him the role. He almost turned it down. Pierce was committed to theater and skeptical about television sitcoms. He worried being a supporting character on a spin-off would damage his theatrical credibility. His agent and fellow actors convinced him to at least try the pilot. If it didn't work out, he could return to stage work. Pierce filmed the pilot still uncertain about the whole enterprise. Then he saw the chemistry between himself and Grammer on screen and recognized something special. Their scenes together had an energy that felt magical. Two actors perfectly matched in rhythm and timing, creating comedy that neither could achieve alone. Number 17. Eddie the dog. Went through extensive training and multiple replacements.
Can't go. You see, I have a curse on my head.
What curse?
He thinks the fates are conspiring to right over there.
Oh, I know. On behalf of Mother Earth, I thank you.
Moose, the Jack Russell Terrier who played Eddie, became one of television's most famous dogs through his expressive face and perfect comedic timing. But achieving that performance required 18 months of intensive training before filming began. Moose's trainer, Matilda DeCagny, worked with him daily, teaching hundreds of specific behaviors that could be combined into complex sequences. Eddie could hit marks, hold positions, react to dialogue cues, and perform elaborate actions on command. The training was so extensive that Moose could execute routines that appeared spontaneous but were actually precisely choreographed. What audiences didn't know was that Eddie was actually played by multiple dogs throughout the series' 11 seasons. Moose performed for the first 7 seasons before age and health issues made work difficult. His son, Enzo, trained to replicate his father's mannerisms exactly, took over for the final 4 seasons. The transition was seamless. Most viewers never noticed the switch, because Enzo had been trained from puppyhood to mirror Moose's specific behaviors and expressions. The dogs became celebrities in their own right, making appearances, earning fan mail, and according to some reports, earning more per episode than some human supporting cast members. John Mahoney, who played Martin Crane, had complicated feelings about Eddie. He wasn't particularly fond of dogs and found working with animals frustrating, but he remained professional, never letting his personal feelings affect his performance. The on-screen relationship between Martin and Eddie was warm and loving, completely opposite to Mahoney's real feelings. Number 16. The apartment set. Cost more than most sitcom budgets.
In fact, the only person who's ever going to see that apartment is probably the Pizza Hut delivery boy. Todd, come on in.
Hey, Green Man. What's going on?
Well, my show, actually, in about 2 minutes. What can I do for you, John?
Frasier's Elliott Bay Towers apartment became one of television's most iconic sets, a sophisticated space that reflected the character's pretentious taste and cultural aspirations. But building that set cost an astronomical amount, more than many entire sitcom pilot budgets. The original construction exceeded $500,000, an unheard of sum for a television apartment in 1993. Every piece was custom designed or carefully selected from high-end furniture stores. The African tribal art wasn't cheap props, but actual valuable pieces. The grand piano was real and functional. The view of the Seattle Space Needle was a massive photographic backdrop that cost over $50,000 alone. NBC executives were horrified when they saw the budget, but couldn't deny the set looked incredible. The creators argued that Frasier's apartment was essentially another character, that its sophistication was crucial to the show's identity. They convinced the network that the investment would pay off through the show's upscale image attracting quality advertisers. They were right. Frasier became associated with educated, affluent viewers, commanding premium advertising rates. The expensive set actually generated revenue beyond what typical sitcoms achieved. Throughout 11 seasons, the apartment was maintained meticulously. Items occasionally changed as Frasier's taste evolved, but the core design remained consistent. Fans could visit the set and find actual designer furniture, real art, genuine luxury items rather than cheap television props. That authenticity contributed to the show's sophisticated atmosphere, making Frasier's world feel real rather than artificial. Number 15, the theme song, was written in 20 minutes.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
Actually, I was punched in the face by a man. Now dead. Thank you.
Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs became one of television's most distinctive theme songs. Its jazzy melody and cryptic lyrics perfectly capturing Frasier's sophisticated yet neurotic personality. But the entire song was written in approximately 20 minutes by composer Bruce Miller. The creators gave Miller almost no direction beyond wanting something jazzy and intelligent sounding. Miller sat at his piano, improvised a melody, and started singing random phrases that came to mind. Tossed salad and scrambled eggs wasn't carefully crafted metaphor. It was literally the first thing he sang that fit the melody. The lyrics made minimal sense, vaguely suggesting confusion and mixing things together, which could theoretically relate to Frasier's psychiatry practice dealing with mixed-up people. But mostly they were just words that sounded good. Miller recorded a rough demo and sent it to the creators expecting feedback and revision requests. Instead, they loved it immediately, declaring it perfect and requiring no changes. Miller was shocked. He'd thrown together what he considered a placeholder, intending to write proper lyrics once he understood the show better. The creators insisted the nonsensical quality was ideal, that trying to make the lyrics too literal or meaningful would ruin the quirky charm. Kelsey Grammer recorded the final version, singing it himself rather than hiring a professional vocalist. His slightly off-key, conversational delivery added to the song's appeal, making it feel personal rather than polished. The 20-minute throwaway composition became so beloved that it remained unchanged for 11 seasons. Number 14, John Mahoney was a British actor faking an American accent.
Thinking about all the turns we have to make. Right turn, left turn. How much easier it'd be if we...
You shouldn't be afraid to shake up your routine a little bit.
Hey, I don't see you taking any big leaps today.
If there was something I wanted to do, I would do it.
Martin Crane, Frasier's blue-collar, straightforward father, seemed quintessentially American. His speech patterns, mannerisms, and working-class sensibilities felt completely authentic. But John Mahoney was actually British, born in Manchester, England, and didn't move to America until his late teens. His natural accent was distinctly English, nothing like Martin Crane's American plain-spokenness. Mahoney spent decades perfecting his American accent, working so hard that most people assumed he was American-born. Even cast members didn't know his true origins initially. When David Hyde Pierce discovered Mahoney was British, he was stunned, having worked with him for months without detecting any hint of accent. Mahoney's commitment to the American accent was absolute. He never broke it on set, maintaining Martin's speech patterns even between takes. He worried that letting his natural accent slip would make it harder to relocate Martin's voice when cameras rolled. This created an interesting dynamic. Both Frasier and Niles were written as pretentious, affected characters who put on airs. Martin was their opposite, the authentic working man. But Martin was being played by someone putting on the most elaborate act of all, a British man performing American working-class authenticity. The irony wasn't lost on Mahoney, who found it amusing that his real character required more artifice than his son's pretentious ones. His performance was so convincing that when he occasionally did interviews in his natural British accent, fans refused to believe it was real, insisting he was putting on the accent as a joke. Number 13, the show's psychiatry, was supervised by real mental health professionals.
Thinking about all the turns we have to make. Right turn, left turn. How much easier it'd be...
You shouldn't be afraid to shake up your routine a little bit.
Hey, I don't see you taking any big leaps today.
If there was something I wanted to do, I would do it.
Unlike most sitcoms that treated psychiatry as pure comedy fodder, Frasier employed actual psychiatrists and psychologists as consultants to ensure the show's therapy-related content was reasonably accurate. The consultants reviewed scripts, correcting obvious errors and suggesting realistic ways Frasier might approach callers' problems. They didn't demand perfect accuracy, recognizing it was comedy, but they prevented egregious misrepresentations that might spread harmful misconceptions about mental health treatment. This commitment to baseline accuracy was unusual for sitcoms. Most shows invented whatever medical content served the jokes, regardless of reality. Frasier's creators wanted the psychiatry to feel authentic enough that actual mental health professionals wouldn't cringe watching the show. The consultants' influence was subtle but significant. They'd note that Frasier wouldn't diagnose someone based on a 2-minute call, or that certain therapeutic approaches were outdated, or that specific terminology was being misused. The writers would adjust, finding ways to keep the jokes while respecting the profession. Kelsey Grammer also consulted with psychiatrists independently, wanting to understand how real therapists thought and spoke. He attended therapy sessions with patient permission, observing the dynamics in language. This research informed his performance, giving Frasier's professional moments authenticity underneath the comedy. Mental health organizations praised the show for generally respectful treatment of psychiatry, noting that while it was comedic, it didn't mock the fundamental value of therapy. That reputation helped destigmatize mental health treatment during the 90s, making psychiatrists seem more approachable and human. Number 12. Daphne's accent was completely made up.
Tried so hard, I really have.
I don't know how you've put up with him this long.
I just want out.
Don't worry, I'll handle the divorce papers.
You gonna join us for breakfast, Cassandra?
Oh, I could go for an English muffin.
Well, perhaps our own English muffin could fetch that for you.
Jane Leeves, who played Daphne Moon, is actually British, from East Grinstead in West Sussex. But Daphne's accent was meant to be from Manchester, a completely different region with a distinctly different sound. Leaves didn't naturally speak with a Manchester accent and had to create one specifically for the role. The problem was that Leaves's version of a Manchester accent was absolutely terrible, according to actual Manchester residents. British viewers consistently complained that Daphne's accent was inconsistent, inaccurate, and sometimes didn't sound British at all. It wandered between regions, sometimes sounding vaguely northern, other times more southern, occasionally drifting into something that resembled no real British accent. Leaves was aware of the criticism, but couldn't seem to fix it. Accents are difficult to maintain consistently, especially when filming long days over many years. Her natural accent would creep in, or she'd overcorrect and create something artificial. The American writers and directors couldn't tell the difference between accurate and inaccurate British accents, so they couldn't provide useful feedback. To American ears, Daphne sounded generically British, which was all that mattered for the show's purposes. British cast member John Mahoney would occasionally try to help Leaves with the accent, but his own accent was from a different region, and he'd been suppressing it for so long that his advice wasn't particularly useful. Eventually, everyone accepted that Daphne's accent was its own creation, not quite matching any real British region, but consistent enough within the show's universe that American audiences never questioned it. Number 11. The coffee shop was named after a real person.
Some black coffee.
What size would you like?
I've got a lot to ponder, so I think a large.
I'm afraid we don't have large, sir.
No, keep them. You'll want them for the parade. Now I'm done.
Frasier! Oh, Alistair, so sorry.
Cafe. Nervosa, where Frasier and Niles spent countless hours discussing opera, wine, and their neuroses, wasn't a fictional creation. The name came from a real person, a nervous coffee shop regular the creators observed while developing the show. During pre-production, the writing team would meet at various Seattle coffee shops, absorbing the atmosphere and local culture. At one particular cafe, they noticed a man who came in daily, ordering complicated coffee drinks with extreme specificity, then sitting alone, exhibiting obviously anxious behaviors, fidgeting, checking his watch constantly, unable to sit still. The writers became fascinated by this nervous regular, joking that he embodied the kind of high-strung personality that would populate Frasier's Seattle. When they needed to name the coffee shop in the show, someone suggested Cafe Nervosa as a tribute to that anxious coffee drinker. The name worked on multiple levels. It sounded vaguely Italian and sophisticated, fitting the upscale aesthetic, but it also captured the neurotic energy of the characters who would frequent it. Frasier and Niles were essentially that nervous man multiplied, their anxiety and overthinking made comedic. The real person who inspired the name never knew about his contribution to television history. The creators never approached him, just observed from a distance and borrowed his essence. Café Nervosa became one of the show's primary settings, second only to Frasier's apartment in screen time, a space where the brothers could pontificate and spiral into elaborate neurotic episodes over espresso and biscotti. Number 10. Perry Gilpin was cast days. Before filming the pilot,
Childbirth needn't be painful. It needn't be, but it be.
Are you quite finished undressing him with your eyes?
Oh, please. 73 Dodge Polaris.
But he's just always struck me as a really interesting guy.
I know.
Roz Doyle, Frasier's sharp-tongued radio producer, became one of the show's most essential characters. But Perry Gilpin wasn't the original choice. Another actress had been cast, rehearsed for weeks, and was ready to film when the creators made a devastating decision. She wasn't working. The chemistry was off, the energy was wrong, and they couldn't imagine 11 seasons with her in the role. With filming scheduled to begin in just days, they fired her and desperately searched for a replacement. Perry Gilpin was doing theater in Los Angeles when her agent called about an emergency audition. She had almost no time to prepare, reading the script once before meeting the producers. But something clicked immediately. Gilpin brought exactly the sardonic wit and warmth the character needed. Someone who could match Frasier's intellectual banter, while remaining grounded and real. She was offered the role within hours and had 72 hours to memorize the entire pilot script. Those first days were terrifying. Gilpin was thrown into a production that had been rehearsing without her, working with actors who'd already developed rhythms and relationships. She had to catch up instantly while creating a character from scratch. The pressure was enormous, knowing she was a last-minute replacement, that the creators had already fired someone, that she could be next if she didn't deliver. But Gilpin's natural talent and professionalism won everyone over. Within weeks, it was impossible to imagine anyone else as Roz. The panicked last-minute casting became one of the show's greatest strokes of luck. Number 9, the writers fought constantly over how smart the show should be.
That if you simply consult the agenda, which you so painstakingly prepared, you will find that there is one.
Nay. Motion carries.
Query.
Not recognized.
Marty, I'm afraid I have to interrupt. There's a delivery for you. Bring it in, Mrs.
The Frasier writers' room was notoriously contentious, split between two factions with completely different visions. One group wanted the show to be as intellectually sophisticated as possible, filling episodes with opera references, philosophical debates, and high culture allusions. The other group worried this approach would alienate average viewers, pushing for more accessible humor and emotional storylines. The battles were intense and personal. Writers would argue for hours over whether a particular opera reference was too obscure or whether dumbing down dialogue betrayed the show's identity. Some episodes went through a dozen rewrites as the two factions fought for control. The showrunners tried to mediate, seeking balance between intellectual comedy and broad accessibility. But the tension never fully resolved, creating a push-pull dynamic throughout the series' run. Interestingly, this conflict produced the show's unique voice. Episodes that leaned too far into intellectualism felt cold and alienating. Episodes that simplified too much felt generic. The constant fighting forced writers to find middle ground, creating comedy that was smart enough to satisfy intellectuals, but warm enough to engage regular viewers. Cultural references were included, but contextualized so non-experts could still laugh. The brothers' pretentiousness was mocked as often as it was celebrated, allowing audiences to laugh both with and at their sophistication. The fighting writers accidentally created something neither faction could have achieved alone. A show that was simultaneously the smartest and most emotionally accessible sitcom on television. Number 8. Kelsey Grammer missed entire weeks of production due to personal issues.
Still don't know what you were thinking. Middle of the night, deserted street, picking up a strange woman.
Very strange woman.
Good for you.
I'm excited, although I hear he can be pretty tough.
I don't know. I mean, he might seem a little stiff and straight-laced.
Throughout Frasier's 11 seasons, Kelsey Grammer struggled with serious personal demons that occasionally made him unable to work. He'd disappear for days or weeks, leaving production scrambling to cover his absence. The reasons varied: substance abuse relapses, family emergencies, hospitalizations for exhaustion and stress. The network and producers protected him fiercely, never publicly acknowledging the absences or their causes. When Grammer was unavailable, the writers had to quickly create Frasier Light episodes focusing on other characters. Some of the show's best Niles-centric episodes were written out of necessity when Grammer couldn't film. Episodes featuring extensive Daphne and Roz subplots often existed because Grammer was absent. The cast and crew handled the situation with remarkable professionalism and compassion. They'd cover for Grammer publicly while privately supporting him through his struggles. David Hyde Pierce, in particular, became a stabilizing presence, checking on Grammer regularly and helping him through difficult periods. What's remarkable is that Grammer's performance never suffered noticeably. When he was present, he was completely professional and brilliant, delivering the sophisticated comedy and emotional depth that made Frasier work. Audiences had no idea that behind the scenes, the star of television's most successful sitcom was fighting battles that sometimes made simply showing up to work an achievement. The show's success, despite these challenges, testified to both Grammer's extraordinary talent and the dedication of everyone around him who compensated when necessary. Number 7. The show won more Emmys than any sitcom in history.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. Wow, I'm really surprised, and I'm
talented Jeffrey, and thank you to everyone at Frasier.
Frasier didn't just win awards. It dominated the Emmy Awards unlike any sitcom before or since, taking home 37 Emmy Awards over its 11 seasons, including 5 consecutive wins for Outstanding Comedy Series from 1994 through 1998. No other show has ever won that category 5 years in a row. The success became almost embarrassing. Emmy voters clearly loved the show to an extent that seemed disproportionate. Other excellent comedies were consistently shut out because Frasier swept nearly every category it was nominated in. The cast won multiple acting Emmys, the writers won repeatedly. Even the technical categories went to Frasier with surprising frequency. Some critics began to complain about Emmy fatigue, arguing that voters were just automatically checking Frasier boxes rather than genuinely evaluating each year's competition. The show's creators had mixed feelings about the dominance. They were obviously thrilled to be recognized, but also aware that the constant winning was creating resentment. Other shows' casts and crews felt their work was being overlooked, simply because Frasier had become the default Emmy choice. In later seasons, even when Frasier won, acceptance speeches became somewhat apologetic, acknowledging the other nominees and the arbitrariness of awards. Despite the criticism, the Emmy record stands as testament to the show's consistent quality and industry respect. Whether voters were right or suffering from groupthink, they clearly believed Frasier represented the pinnacle of sitcom achievement throughout the 90s. Number 6. The finale almost ended with Frasier's death.
Champagne? Were you just crying?
No, Ross, of course not. Listen, could you take these out for me?
Sure.
Thank you. We had a big party that night. It was all very sweet.
What was that?
Oh.
The original concept for Frasier's series finale was dramatically darker than what eventually aired. The writers seriously considered ending the show with Frasier dying in a plane crash, his final season arc building toward an ill-fated flight. The idea was to create something genuinely shocking and memorable, a finale that would be discussed and debated for years. Scripts were drafted showing Frasier boarding a plane to pursue Charlotte to Chicago, with ambiguous final moments suggesting but not confirming the plane went down. The concept divided the writers' room fiercely. Supporters argued it would be bold, unexpected, and artistically brave, refusing to give audiences the happy ending they expected. Opponents called it nihilistic, cruel to fans who'd invested 11 years in the character, and fundamentally inconsistent with the show's tone. Kelsey Grammer was initially intrigued by the dark ending, but ultimately sided with those who opposed it. He argued that Frasier Crane had been on television for 20 years across 2 shows, and he deserved better than ambiguous death. The finale needed to honor the character and give closure, not shock value. The debate continued until just months before the finale was scheduled to film. Finally, the creators chose the ending that aired, Frasier leaving Seattle to follow his heart, ambiguous about specifics but clearly alive and pursuing new possibilities. Some writers still believe the death ending would have been bolder and more memorable, but most agreed the hopeful conclusion was right for the character and the show's legacy. Number 5. Jane Leeves and Perry Gilpin were pregnant at the same time.
That car, I don't care if it's careening toward a baby carriage.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a lovely day.
Yes. Oh, good Lord, is it someone's birthday?
Hey, Roz, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but Brenda from the newsroom got the job.
During season 8, both Jane Leeves and Perry Gilpin became pregnant simultaneously, creating a logistical nightmare for the production. The writers had to hide 2 pregnancies while maintaining show continuity and character consistency. For Leaves, they made the creative decision to write Daphne's pregnancy into the show, having her character gain significant weight before revealing she was expecting. This allowed Leaves to appear on screen throughout her pregnancy without elaborate hiding tactics. But Perry Gilpin's pregnancy was never acknowledged. Roz had already been a single mother to baby Alice, and the writers didn't want to repeat that storyline or complicate her character further, so they had to hide Gilpin's growing belly through increasingly creative means. The costume department dressed her in baggy clothes and strategically placed props. She was positioned behind counters, carrying large objects, or filmed only from chest up. Some episodes barely featured Roz because filming her convincingly was too difficult. The simultaneous pregnancies also meant both actresses were dealing with fatigue, physical discomfort, and hormonal changes while trying to maintain comedic energy. The shooting schedule was adjusted constantly to accommodate their needs, filming around doctor appointments and allowing more rest breaks. Cast members later joked that season 8 should have been sponsored by maternity clothing companies, given how much time was spent figuring out what would hide both pregnancies. The challenge brought the cast closer together, with everyone working extra hard to support the pregnant actresses and compensate when their energy flagged. Number 4. The show's depiction of Seattle was almost entirely wrong.
Well, I guess I have problems with men. No matter what they say, all they really see.
Frasier was set in Seattle but rarely filmed there. The vast majority of the series was shot on sound stages in Los Angeles, with only occasional establishing shots actually filmed in Seattle. This created a version of Seattle that bore little resemblance to the real city. The apartment view supposedly showed Elliott Bay and the Space Needle, but the geography was completely wrong. Those landmarks aren't visible from that angle in reality. Cafe Nervosa was meant to be a typical Seattle coffee shop, but it looked nothing like actual Seattle cafes, more closely resembling upscale Los Angeles establishments. The weather was wrong too. Seattle is famous for constant rain and gray skies, but Frasier's Seattle seemed perpetually sunny. When exterior scenes showed clear skies and bright sunshine, actual Seattle residents would laugh, knowing that weather was rare. The show also largely ignored Seattle's grunge music scene, which defined the city during the 90s. Frasier and Niles' cultural interests were opera and classical music, completely divorced from the actual cultural zeitgeist of Seattle during that era. Seattle residents had complicated feelings about Frasier. They appreciated that the show put their city on the map and increased tourism, but they also felt the Seattle depicted was a fantasy, a sanitized, upscale version that erased the city's real character. The creators acknowledged they were using Seattle more as concept than reality, a sophisticated coastal city that could house Frasier's pretensions. Accuracy was less important than creating the right atmosphere for the characters and stories. Number 3. David Hyde Pierce won 4 Emmys, but refused to campaign.
The other day, one of my patients had a rather amusing Freudian slip. He was having dinner with his wife, and he meant to say "pass the salt," but instead he said, "You've ruined my life, you bloodsucking." To put me in the same category with John Mahoney.
David Hyde Pierce's portrayal of Niles Crane was universally acclaimed, earning him 4 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. But Pierce had a unique relationship with awards recognition. He actively refused to participate in Emmy campaigning, the process where actors and studios lobby voters through parties, screenings, and promotional materials. While other nominees were attending events, giving interviews, and doing everything possible to influence voters, Pierce stayed home. He found the entire awards process distasteful, believing that performances should speak for themselves without political maneuvering. His refusal to campaign was unusual and risky. Emmy voters are influenced by visibility and personal connections. Actors who work the circuit, attend events, and schmooze with voters have significant advantages. Pierce's absence should have hurt his chances. Instead, he won repeatedly, suggesting that his Niles performance was so undeniably excellent that it overcame his refusal to play the awards game. When Pierce did attend Emmy ceremonies to accept awards, his speeches were notably brief and understated. He thanked his colleagues, acknowledged the other nominees, and left the stage quickly, avoiding the emotional displays or lengthy thank yous that typically characterized acceptance speeches. His approach to awards reflected his general personality: private, somewhat uncomfortable with attention, more interested in the work than recognition. This actually made his wins more meaningful to many observers. Here was someone winning purely on merit, refusing to reduce artistry to political calculation, proving that exceptional work could still be recognized even in Hollywood's often cynical awards culture. Number 2. The show's ending was changed. After September 11th,
The worst day imaginable. I need a sherry.
Brace yourself.
the Frasier series finale was scheduled to air in spring 2004, and the original ending had been planned and written months in advance. But after the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, the creators made a significant change to the finale's conclusion. The original ending was more ambiguous and darker in tone, reflecting the sophisticated melancholy that characterized much of Frasier's run. But in the post-9/11 world, the creators felt audiences needed hope rather than ambiguity. They rewrote the finale to be more explicitly optimistic, with Frasier clearly choosing to pursue love and new possibilities rather than remaining stuck in patterns. The change was subtle but significant. Lines were adjusted to be warmer. The final scene was reshot to emphasize hope over uncertainty. The voiceover that played during Frasier's plane flight was completely rewritten, originally much more contemplative and uncertain, changed to be definitively forward-looking. The creators rarely discussed this change publicly, but it represented a broader shift in how entertainment responded to national trauma. Shows that had been cynical or dark before 9/11 suddenly felt inappropriate. Audiences wanted comfort, reassurance, and hope. Frasier, which had always balanced sophistication with warmth, leaned more heavily into the warmth for its conclusion. The finale that aired was still true to the show's character, but offered the emotional catharsis that felt necessary for that particular cultural moment. Whether the original ending would have been better remains unknowable, but the changed version gave viewers the gentle, hopeful conclusion they needed. Number 1. Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde. Pierce haven't spoken since the show ended.
Excuse me, Bulldog. Frasier, please. We're in session.
Look, Knox, we have to pull this man together in minutes, not in a lifetime. For God's sake.
Dare you talk to me like that? You think
I will talk to you anyway. I wish to. We don't have to.
Started on building a truly gender-neutral workplace, okay? Now, who wants to meet my puppets?
The relationship between Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce, so perfect on screen, completely deteriorated after Frasier ended. The two actors who'd created one of television's greatest sibling dynamics haven't spoken in nearly 2 decades, a falling out that shocked fans and industry insiders. The reasons for the rift remain largely private, with both men refusing to discuss specifics publicly. But various sources have suggested the breakdown involved political differences, personal conflicts, and disagreements about a potential Frasier revival. Grammer has been outspoken about his conservative political views, while Pierce is liberal and progressive. These differences, manageable during production when they had professional reasons to maintain civility, became insurmountable afterward. There were also reports of tension over money and credit, Pierce feeling he was never adequately compensated for his contribution to the show's success, Grammer feeling Pierce didn't appreciate the opportunities Frasier had provided. When Paramount developed a Frasier revival in 2023, Pierce notably refused to participate, publicly stating he had no interest in revisiting Niles. Industry insiders suggested Pierce's refusal was less about the character and more about not wanting to work with Grammer again. The revival proceeded without him, Niles' absence explained through story rather than addressed directly. The broken relationship is particularly sad given the magic they created together. Frasier and Niles' bond was television's gold standard for sibling relationships. Warm, complex, and deeply loving. Knowing the actors who embodied that connection can't stand each other adds melancholy to every rewatch. A reminder that the best performances are often just that, performances. Frasier didn't just make us laugh. It proved that sitcoms could be smart, sophisticated, and still enormously popular. The secrets revealed that creating television brilliance required more than just good writing.